For over 20 years, we've laughed at Usopp's insane stories and cheered for him. But what if I told you Oda has been playing the longest game in manga history? What if God Usopp wasn't just a hilarious joke, but a secret piece of foreshadowing for the end of One Piece? This is not your average theory. I'm talking about a 1,000 chapter plan that could give God Usopp a literal world-changing role in the final war. It all started with the lies he told as a kid, and it ends with the Straw Hat's weakest link becoming the key to saving the world. To understand Usopp's future, you have to know this one secret. His lies literally become reality. It's not a joke. It's a pattern so insane that fans believe Oda is using him as an unwitting prophet for the entire adventure. It all started in his home village. He would scream, "Pirates are coming!" every single day as a lie. And then one day, pirates actually came. The arrival of Captain Kuro was the first time his words bent reality. You think that's a coincidence? Just wait, because the list gets even crazier. Remember his story about a giant goldfish with poop so big it looked like an island? We all thought it was total nonsense. Then, hundreds of chapters later, we meet the giants Dory and Broggy, who told us the Island Eater is 100% real. His lie wasn't a lie at all. This happens over and over and over again. In his village, Usopp lied about fighting a legendary mole. In Alabasta, he literally fights Miss Merry Christmas, a woman who ate the mole fruit. He lied about taming Cerberus, the three-headed dog from hell. Then, on Thriller Bark, one of the first things the crew sees is a real, stitched-together Cerberus. He bragged about capturing a dragon. On Punk Hazard, they run into a dragon. It's like the world itself is making his stories come true. Even his lies about himself become real. He desperately wanted a huge bounty. After Enies Lobby, he got his Sogeking bounty for 30 million berries. That's the exact same as Luffy's first bounty. He's on the same level as his captain. Fans have even found crazier connections, like in Skypiea when Usopp yelled about a beautiful swordswoman bearing meat, which is basically what Rebecca did for Luffy in Dressrosa. This isn't a devil fruit, at least not one we know of. It's Oda telling us to pay attention to everything Usopp says, because no matter how stupid it sounds, it will be important. His lies are secret prophecies, and they are the key to his future, to Elbaf, and maybe even the final war. He's not just a liar. He's a storyteller whose stories actually happen. For years, Usopp's power was a small, personal thing. But in Dressrosa, things went from 0 to 100. This is where the title God Usopp was born. And I'm telling you, it is not a joke. This is where the gag became a superpower. So Doflamingo ran Dressrosa using a horrifying secret from one of his officers, Sugar. She had a devil fruit that could turn anyone into a toy and erase them from the memory of everyone on Earth. It's basically the same kind of power the person at the very top, Emu, seems to have. The plan to stop Doflamingo was to knock Sugar out, but the plan failed miserably, and Usopp ended up face to face with her. He was defeated, but then he accidentally got the spiciest grape in the world shoved in his mouth. His reaction, the screaming, the bulging eyes, was so terrifying that it scared Sugar unconscious. And in 1 second, thousands of people who were turned into toys flickered back into existence. To them, one moment they were forgotten toys, the next they were saved. And the person they saw? The man with the tormented face, Usopp. He won by accident, through pure, unfiltered terror. The Tontada dwarves, who he'd already tricked into thinking he was their legendary hero, saw this as a literal miracle. In their eyes, only a god could do that. They lifted his body into the air and hailed him as their savior, God Usopp. This changed everything. Doflamingo, absolutely furious, put a 500 million berry bounty on Usopp's head. For a minute, the weakest Straw Hat was the most wanted man on the island, with a bigger bounty than Luffy. Doflamingo saw Usopp for what he was, a symbol of freedom. But it wasn't over. Sugar got back up and was about to turn Luffy and Law into toys. They were done for. Miles away, Usopp unlocked his observation haki for the first time ever to save his friends. He could sense their auras from an impossible distance. This time, it wasn't an accident. It was pure skill, powered by a brand new, godlike perception. He made an impossible shot, curving a bullet through a tiny window across the city to knock Sugar out for good. He saved everyone again. As a direct result, the 5,600 members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet pledged their loyalty to Luffy, all because God Usopp saved them. Now, with the title God, Usopp is in a crazy lineup. We have God Enel, the Sun God Nika, and now God Usopp. Putting the most cowardly human character in with literal gods is insane, and it's 100% on purpose. He's not just the sniper anymore. He's a symbol, a savior, and his lies have created a title that carries insane weight. Now that he's officially God Usopp, the stage is set for his biggest challenge ever, the Land of Giants, Elbaf. Since the beginning of his journey, Elbaf has been Usopp's ultimate goal. It's where he has to finally become a brave warrior of the sea. Elbaf is being set up as Usopp's crucible, where 2 decades of waiting might finally pay off. Usopp's connection to giants is one of the longest subplots in One Piece. It started with him idolizing the giants Dory and Broggy in Little Garden. He promised them he would visit Elbaf one day as a true warrior, and that promise has been hanging over the series forever. Oda has been building this for years. In Enies Lobby, Usopp befriended 2 more giants, Oimo and Kashi. In Dressrosa, his actions led to Hirudin, a giant warrior, pledging his loyalty as the first member of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Usopp has accidentally become a legend to the giants. He's friends with Dory and Broggy, he freed Oimo and Kashi, and he's the god who inspired Hirudin. He is the one guy who connects the Straw Hats to the most powerful race of warriors in the world. This leads to a huge theory. Elbaf is where his biggest lie becomes reality. Remember when he bragged about having 8,000 followers? The Straw Hat Grand Fleet is already 5,600 strong. What if, by earning the respect of the giants in Elbaf, he rallies their armies and brings that number to the legendary 8,000? His greatest lie would become a real military force loyal to him and Luffy. But Elbaf isn't just about getting an army. It is the final test for Usopp's character. His biggest enemy has always been his own fear. Elbaf, a land of warriors, will force him to face that fear head on. He won't be able to lie his way out of this one. He'll have to actually become the brave warrior he's always pretended to be. And on top of all of that, he has to face his dad, Usopp, a top sniper for the Red Hair Pirates. That abandonment is why Usopp started lying in the first place. Their reunion will be the emotional climax of his entire story. Will they have a sniper duel? Usopp has to surpass his father, not just in skill, but by proving he's a great warrior who fights for his friends. Some fans even think his lie to the Tontadas about being related to Mont Blanc Noland, the liar whose stories turned out to be true, is another secret prophecy. If that's true, Usopp's journey is about proving that all the liars in history were actually telling the truth. Elbaf is where all these insane plot threads could finally come together. Okay, now we're going completely insane. How can a cowardly sniper from the East Blue possibly play a role in the final fight against Emu, the secret king of the world? I'm about to blow your mind. What if Usopp is the only person in the world who can counter Emu's power? First, think about Emu's power. We saw them erase the island of Lulusia from existence with a weapon from the sky. Afterward, it was like the island was never even there. Imu's power isn't just destruction, it's controlling reality. It's the ability to decide what is and isn't truth. Now, think about who Usopp has defeated. He doesn't win by punching harder. He beats enemies with weird, psychological, and reality-bending powers. He's been training for this. His first huge win was against Perona. Her ghosts could make anyone lose the will to live, even monsters like Luffy and Zoro. How did Usopp win? By already being so negative that her ghosts didn't affect him. He literally out-negatived the ultimate negativity user. Then came Sugar in Dressrosa. Her power was even more terrifying, erasing people from memory, a mini version of what Imu does. How did Usopp beat her? First, by accident with his horror face. The second time, with a newly awakened observation haki, making an impossible shot to save his friends when no one else could. Both times, he beat an enemy who manipulates existence. Do you see the pattern? Usopp is the giant killer of conceptual abilities. He's the guy who wins when pure strength fails. And Imu has the ultimate conceptual power, the power to erase truth itself. This is where the title God Usopp becomes shockingly literal. Imu erases history. Usopp, the liar, creates reality from his stories. So what if his final job is to counteract Imu's erasure? How could he do it? Maybe his observation haki gets even stronger in Elbaf. What if he learns to see things that have been erased, like the ghost of Lulusia or the truths of the Void Century? His haki wouldn't be about seeing the future, it would be about seeing the true past. And what about his stories? Imu's power only works if everyone forgets. But Usopp is a master storyteller. What if, in the final war, Usopp tells one story so powerful, a story about the Sun God, the Void Century, the Will of D, that it spreads across the entire world? His lie would become a truth so strong that even Imu couldn't erase it. He'd be fighting information warfare with misinformation that's actually the truth. He would literally become the memory of the world. And for the craziest part, could he awaken a unique form of Conqueror's haki? Instead of scaring people, what if he could project his stories and his will directly into the minds of his 8,000 followers, turning them into an unbreakable legion? In this final battle, Usopp doesn't need to punch Imu. His job is more important. While Luffy physically destroys the system, Usopp saves its soul. He makes sure that the truth, once it's revealed, can never be hidden again. The boy who lied to feel less alone becomes the man whose stories save reality. Usopp's journey has been one of the craziest and most patient character arcs in manga history. What started as a joke has become a core rule of the One Piece world. We followed the breadcrumbs from his first lies all the way to Dressrosa, where he was literally crowned a god by accident. We've seen how Oda is paving his way to Elbaf, where he'll finally have to become the brave warrior of the sea. That's where he might just get his 8,000 followers and finally face his father, Usopp. But the theory doesn't stop there. Through his insane wins against conceptual enemies like Perona and Sugar, Oda might have set up Usopp as the perfect thematic counter to Imu. His role at the end of the world might not be about strength, but about preserving history itself. He could be the storyteller who fights the eraser of stories, the liar who protects the ultimate truth. From a scared kid in a small village to a potential god in the final war, it all feels like part of a grand design. The payoff for God Usopp is coming, and it has the potential to be one of the most hyped moments in the entire saga. So, I've got to ask you all, what lie of Usopp's do you think will be the most important in the end? Let me know your theories down below. And if you liked this deep dive, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.